In ancient time, Caesar said, Veni, vidi, vici. I went, I saw, I won. We architects said, we come, we saw, and we learn from to create something new.
Francis Kéré, thank you for being here.
Thank you for these conversations. I'm really, really happy to be here again. Yeah.
I introduced you as an architect, and then I also suggested artist. And I know that some of your projects go fully and completely under the banner of architecture, and sometimes you find yourself in conversations that get called art. And I wonder how you think about that relationship.
Yeah, it depends on projects. When I build a school, I am fitting a need. But I'm trying as much as possible to get them be a source of inspiration for the users. Thinking about that, a project came to my mind. Is the Opera Village in Burkina Faso. I had a chance to work closely with an artist. His name is Christophe Schlingensief, and he has been called Enfant Terrible. He was really, really avant-garde personality. He was coming from theater, but also from performance art, and he was a sort of activist. An architect needs to reflect, to absorb, and to be able to create, to design. And much of the things needed to go very fast because he was dying when we started to work together.
So what do you feel like you learned as a designer from this incredibly activist artist, the Enfant Terrible?
Yes. No, quite a lot. I learned a lot about. We architects, we often think simply about the basement, about how to get it be done, that it's solid, that it's standing. Of course, we think about experience, about the space, what it is, what it should be. But there is a momentum of drama that we don't think about it. And so with Christophe, for example, he would talk and he is describing architecture. We go to a restaurant and he described this way, this trip, this journey toward this restaurant, the way that you really, as an architect, you start to imagine a space that you should design the way that it will force the visitor to discover, to go on the journey of discovery. It was so fantastic, and he infuses drama in my architecture.
And choreography.
A choreography in the way of making architecture and where you should just perceive and consume architecture.
Oh, fabulous.
I think Le Corbusier once said, la promenade architecturale, and which is clearly described by Christophe Will to push you to come out with something that is unique. I learned about how you could just create a space in this place.
In this place.
That I thought that I knew very well. So I think I'm not just architect.
I think so too.
Yeah.
You have such a transnational practice. You're a Berlin-based architect, and you find yourself here in Fishtail, Montana.
Yeah.
You've described projects that are in the continent of Africa. What does it mean to take some of the vernacular, some of the lessons learned from spaces in one continent, in a different region of the world? Because part of it is when someone's commissioned you from Kéré Architecture Studio, they want a piece by you. They want it to look like it's from you. Yeah. And at the same time, you want it to be appropriate to that place.
Actually, thinking about place, it may be material change, it may be techniques. I mean, if I build in Burkina Faso, potentially in terms of engineering or professional, I am limited. Craftsmanship may be available. But if I come to the US, it's a country where technology is at the very high. So it means I could do things that are more engineered, that just has a higher quality, in terms of sophistication, in terms of finishing,
I've heard you use the phrase material opportunist, and I wonder how that relates to our discussion about what it is to do place-based work.
No, one thing that is important to my work is always to try to explore in the given place when I have a commission to see what can I use the best in the best way that will not cause a burden to the environment.
Yeah.
And when we came here first time, we realized that there is a sort of logs that is available, and then it has been used also by Native Americans.
So these materials are actually part of the historical way that you're connecting to place.
Yeah, that is it, absolutely. It is also about material, a material that withstand the element in Montana because it has been used by the native. That's what I told myself. And I saw it was abundant. And then if you want to play in the way I'm thinking about nature, about trees, so that you better use trees to do that. A tree for me is a sort of shelter that really embrace you without closing you up, you know, cutting you from the outside world. A tree is open. I can see it. I can see who is sitting in it. I can see people gathering. It is this welcoming aspect that I love in the tree. A project that I did that has been seen as the culmination of my ideas around the tree is the Serpentine Pavilion in London.
This a project where certainly the art world became very aware.
So it's about pushing it to the boundary. A tree is a plant, it needs water, you know? And so I said, why wouldn't we use this opportunity in creating a pavilion inside the Kensington Garden, while the pavilion is not collecting itself water? You understand?
So strange.
Yeah,
The water was already always there, and they never utilized it.
Yes.
Okay.
And so it's a playful idea to introduce people to things and to inspire. This is all about design. You know, design can be a catalyst for many, many things. I don't want my pavilion in London to be just contemplative, but I want it to be inspiring. But I want it to be a place where people experience. Thinking about the Parliament House that I'm now building in Benin, I wanted to push a cultural tradition that is rooted long time ago in West African culture. It's all about gathering under the tree. And that kind of tree is called arbre à palabre, the palaver tree. This is like the tree where you sit together and to fix daily human life. Yes, and to fix things, that are concerned. And so I said, why we don't turn the narrative and name a Parliament House l'arbre à palabre? Why we don't be inspired by it? It is because about a dialogue. It's about sitting. It's about a democratic place.
That has a political provocation.
Yes. People in Benin see this as a symbol of their nation, of their unity. And because it's rooted in tradition, before the colonial time, when people will come together and make decisions.
I love that the tree could be inspiring a pavilion in an art context here, and the tree can be inspiring a governmental building and what it is to be a parliamentarian.
Yeah, absolutely.
So speaking of which, here we are at Xylem, another place where the tree structure transferred and has been reimagined. Maybe you could say a bit more about how all of these things that we've been talking about actually participate in helping us understand what Xylem is.
Xylem is very special to me because it's simply my very first project in the US. You have a place where you have a lot of trees, and here we have this wonderful landscape. And the imagination was just not to come and create something that is loud, imposing itself, but to imagine as part of the tree landscape. The columns around is mimicking trees around, and it comes all together to create a canopy. And we, together with the Tippet Rise team, we put more trees. So with the time, this place will grow. I say grow, place can grow, because more tree will rise, and then It will just give you the feeling and being in a little forest.
I'm starting to hear that xylem is not only this canopy structure
No.
here, it is actually its relationship to a wider environment where you've planted trees.
Absolutely.
So that the work is very wide in its footprint.
It's a bigger tree among many, many other trees.
Yeah,
That was the idea.
wonderful. Can you talk a little bit about how you decided to use the smaller logs and form them into larger cylinders, what you're thinking about when you put these layers together, and even what it means when you put together the benches,
Yes.
how you imagine people experiencing it, seeing it, using it, playing with it.
First of all, it's a lot of engineering inside to mimic a canopy of a tree. Engineering means to create a sort of clusters that are almost regular, but you could just use different components in height, in bundle size. That makes the beauty about, because it's the irregularity. This way, you also use entire wood. You don't use simply a given size. You're gonna use all of them.
The whole thing.
The
Okay.
whole thing,
Okay.
which
yeah.
is sustainable.
Which is also more sustainable.
Oh
right.
yes, that
Got
is it. In terms of material rationalism, you
Yep.
don't throw away something. But the way I wanted people to use it, this structure, it is to invite them to come and gather together in the different constellation. You could sit here, like the two of us talking, little kids may be playing on the back,
Absolutely. A little
climbing,
kid right up
you
there. yeah.
understand, yeah. But also you could come alone during a long day of hiking and just to rest. Sitting here, you're connecting the colored pieces together.
Absolutely.
So through your imagination, you as a human, you're bringing these, logs to life.
It's like our bodies are completing the tree.
Exactly. That is what it does.
I
That is it.
hadn't thought of that. That's
Yeah.
exactly what's
That is it.
happening.
Yeah.
So there's a kind of an anthropomorphism here in the sense that it's inviting us to lend our bodies
Exactly.
to a space that needs them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
Well, Francis, thank you so much for lending your voice and your creativity and your vision to Tippet Rise, but also to Relevance of Place.
It always, for me, a joyful experience to be here. That you feel it is a catalyst for many, many things to happen. For art, for music, for poetry. And I will take this experience myself just to really, let's say, feed my creativity.
In that response, you just invoked a central part of the mission statement of Tippet Rise, where they talked about wanting to create a place of poetry, of art, of music, of land and sky, where all of these elements contribute to an algorithm that is more than the sum of its parts. Everyone appreciates how much you have brought and how much you have transformed what this place is. And thank you for returning to be part of the conversation today.
Well, it's wonderful to be part of this great place,
Thank you.
Yeah.